mum of two, B Marshall, has become prominent for allowing her two boys a free-for-all lifestyle. They can stay up late, they choose not to do their homework, they don't have to. If they don't want to, they can draw on the walls, they can swear.
Well, parenting expert Liz Fraser, however, believes you must say no to your kids and thinks Ofsted are absolutely right. So welcome to both of you. Lots of comments on this already in the panel. We haven't even started yet. We'll get to them in a minute. First of all, B, what is yes parenting? What does that mean?
So for me, what yes parenting means is it's about saying yes to who my children are, to their interests, to their preferences, and recognising that it takes 15 to 20 years for human beings to mature into adulthood. So I trust that my children will go through that maturing process in their own way, and that I can say yes to them.
And you've been doing this since what age were they when you first started?
My eldest was about 3 when I kind of got to this point.
Okay, so sort of the same age as my children are now. I mean, I sort of think, in my own experience, I dread to think what would happen if I turned around and let my children say yes to everything that they wanted right now.
Before that point, I was what I would now describe as a bit of a hideous super nanny type mum. I had very strict boundaries, consequences, discipline and things like that. And then I had a 6-month period as a result of 1 week that just really opened my eyes to other ways of doing it that led me onto the journey that I'm on now.
Wasn't there a middle ground to be found?
There probably is a middle ground that many parents find, but as a personality I tend not to find the middle ground.
Well, you gave me an example there during the competition of how your son cut through the wire on your mobile phone.
Yes.
So what did you do then in that situation?
So he was 3, this is my youngest son, and he was 3, and I knew anyway that he loved picking up scissors, he loved cutting things in general. When he cut through the mobile phone charger, obviously that was a bit of like a, oh my gosh. So my response to that was just to say, wow, you really want to cut through things. And I pulled together all sorts of different things, so things that had kind of resistance like a wire, and I made it available for him to cut all those things.
But you would have had to have tell him you can't cut through wires, because if that's plugged in you could actually really
die.
Yes.
Yeah, I tend at that age, I don't think I did at that age, because I just think he was just exploring his world.
Is that
and
not
stuff
quite dangerous? Because they can explore, but I mean, don't stick your finger in a plug socket. I mean, we all know that sort of old.
Sure. But my response to that is, OK, I take control of making sure things are not plugged in or they're turned off at the walls and things like that, and spend a lot of time very closely with my children when they were little, so that I was there to kind of be part of what they were doing. That happened when I wasn't there, I wasn't watching him.
I guess that's the problem.
So.
You say that this goes against everything, really, and that children do need boundaries.
Children need boundaries desperately. What we're trying to do when we raise children is to prepare them for the real world out there. And I've been absolutely inundated this morning by people saying pretty much what I'm going to say now, which is that children need boundaries, and it's not unkind to them to say no. In fact, it's very useful for them to say no. Children are going to grow up and they're going to have a job and they're going to go to school, and their teacher is going to say to them, you need to sit down now, you need to do this thing now. I know you don't want to do it, but that's not the point. If they don't learn this at home, that there is discipline and that there are boundaries and that there's the word no, they are completely... Not only, by the way, is it going to be very bad for society, because we raise our children to behave not only in our own home, but also to behave nicely in society. So it's bad for everybody. It's also very bad for them, because one day someone's going to say no, and they're going to have absolutely no idea how to react to that.
And that's all already happened a little bit, because you've got your 2 sons. One of them is very good at school. The other one, although it doesn't necessarily take it out at school, comes home and gets very angry because he doesn't like being told no.
That's not actually quite true. He's very good at school. He does respond to being told no. It's not the saying no. It's that he, having had the experience of being home educated, knows what it's like to live life where you have the autonomous choice to spend your time and energy in the way that you want to. And
so
that's
it's
what
the discipline of
wants.
school that he doesn't really like.
I don't think it's even the discipline. It's the fact that he wants to put his energy into learning what he wants to learn when he wants to learn it.
So what about when they end up in the workplace?
Well, interestingly, they already are very entrepreneurial. They're very interested in what do people want, why do they want it, how do we create this thing for them, and they really slot into things very well. When Liz, you talk about boundaries, my concern is not this. I don't think that people don't need boundaries. I think what we need to do is equip our children to establish what boundaries are appropriate for them and others. So we have very strong principles within our family that I'll talk to them about.
What about swearing?
So, with swearing, there's only 2 occasions that my children have ever sworn at me, even though they would be free to do that. And my response to swearing is, wow, you sound really angry about something, and I'll get to the bottom of it. I'll resolve that situation, and then we'll talk about the swearing. So it's not a punitive thing, it's about the complexity of the culture that we're part of, and language is part of that.
I can understand that probably as parents we may say no too much. It's like our sort of go-to, no, don't touch that, no, don't do this. So I can understand that we can get a bit lazy sometimes. Would that be fair?
This is all part of a culture that has a terrible fear, actually, of letting children be children. And when you're a child, you're not ready to be autonomous, and you're not ready to set your own boundaries, actually. And we know that children who are raised in a very, very free environment and who don't really have boundaries, statistically have a much higher likelihood of getting into all kinds of problems in life. There is a higher link between children who are very, very free and have no boundaries as children and drink problems or drug problems. That's not to say at all that's going to happen to your children or anyone's watching, but there is a link there. And we know that children who are brought up in a structure where, by the way, you are the parent and they are the child, feel very secure. There's actually a very important developmental stage there where they want to feel that that the buck stops somewhere.
And we're going to gather all your comments together because Jeff, of course, is in the hub. So we're going to go as soon as we've had the news. We're going to hear what you've got to say about this fascinating debate.